Ayo, what up? It's your girl Bewitched Faun, coming in with episode 4 of Faun's Horror Corner. This is where I watch a random horror movie from Tubi and I go over it. The movie I watched this week was The Beast of Bray Road from 2005. There were no familiar names in the cast, and the Beast kinda gives me the same vibe as the horror version of the Grinch from The Mean One, so I can't say that I had high expectations from the get-go. No tea, no shade. The description Tubi gave us is a chilling horror tale based on actual accounts of sightings in Wisconsin of a serial predator whose gruesome evidence shows both human and wolf DNA. So, the vibe it gives is werewolf/creature feature, which I haven't watched a lot of either, so we'll see how it goes. Let's get into the predictions. So I'm not overly familiar with werewolf or creature feature movies, and I also don't know much about the Beast of Bray Road as a cryptid, as I'm kind of a Mothman stan myself. I ended up leaning more towards creature feature guesses than anything. Number 1, Howls at the Moon. Number 2, There Will Be a Final Girl. Number 3, ultimately, the monster doesn't die. Number 4, someone in the party doesn't believe the monster exists. Number 5, someone disrupted the monster, thus angering it. You know, like the fuck around, find out mentality. Number 6, cheesy one-liner, like most of Ethan's lines in Resident Evil Village. Number 7, someone tries to do the good doggy thing to it, like they think they're the fucking big-ass dog whisperer or something. Lastly, number 8, a couple gets murked while boinking. With the predictions out of the way, I can't say I went in feeling confident, and let's get into it. The movie begins with a group of people leaving the local bar, and it seems like everyone is hoping to get some nookie. The main focus is of a girl, Gretchen, saying that she doesn't want to go back to this dude's place. She just wants to go home. The bartender comes out and tells them to shoo because local law says she can't be open past 2 a.m. and the new sheriff should be stopping by to follow up on that. After this guy fumbles the bag, Gretchen gets in her car and leaves to go home. She has to pull over because it seems like her car engine just shit the bed. She gets out to look at it and toss some oil or whatever that is in. I'm not a car girly. She's alerted by a growl nearby and quickly puts the hood down and gets back in her car. But unfortunately, it's still not starting. She tries to call her sister, but to no avail. Then, quite literally, very suddenly, a beast emerges and attacks Gretchen in her car. She runs into the woods and she is being chased. She hides behind a tree, but that was her downfall as he grabs her from up in the tree and straight splits that bitch. Then he howls into the night sky and the scene changes. It's the next day and the new sheriff Phil finds Gretchen's car on the side of the road and begins to investigate it. He reports to dispatch about his find and he's informed that a tow truck will be sent over to scoop it up. He walks over to the bloodied side of the car and he takes a sample of it before leaving. Now we're inside the police station. We meet a young cop who's taking a report for a missing cat as Phil walks into the room. A conversation about the car begins. It's been towed, and it belongs to a man named Jack Burka, but it hasn't been reported stolen or anything. Phil asks Pam about the blood on the car, but she says she didn't see anything. Phil mentions a sample and how he wants to run a DNA test, but the other officers think that that's fucking silly because clearly Jack got drunk and he made an oopsie on the road. Simple. No DNA test then. Phil goes on his way to Jack's house to investigate. He knocks, and Jack's wife Shelley answers, but Jack is around the corner. Phil asks about the car. We learn that Jack bought it and he gave it to Gretchen. Next question. Well, where is she? He doesn't know, but he does call her a degrading name. Next question. Where might he find Gretchen? This time, Jack makes fun of deaf people, and it took no time for me to hate him. Phil decides to talk to Shelley outside. She tells him that she goes to Kelly's bar a lot. Normally, she'll call her when she'll be late, but she doesn't have a boyfriend that she knows of. With that information, he's off again. Now we enter Kelly's bar. He goes to the counter and gets flirted with by 2 ladies sitting near him until the bartender Kelly comes up. They're pretty flirty for sure, but he's here on business. And asks about Gretchen. He asks if she was there yesterday. Kelly says yes, till she closed. Next question. Who is she with? Kelly answers, the Lubis brothers and other regulars. So he brings the investigation over to the Lubis brothers. He pulls up and boy, he's not welcome, and one of them even slips out a slur which threw me way off. Phil asks when the last time they saw Gretchen was. They answer, last night at Kelly's. Next question. Did you guys fight? No, but this guy's still mad that he didn't get laid. They say many derogatory things. Phil hands them his business card. The boys did not like that. Phil threatens them, and he moves on. Back to Jack and his wife now. He's smoking and drinking while watching what sounds like cartoons. Demands a beer, and is annoyed that manwich takes 15 minutes to make. But something broke some glass outside, and now he's yelling out his door for local kids to leave his property. Then the Beast comes up and gives Jack a slice. He stumbles onto his couch, and the Beast brutally rips him apart. Shelly gets her gun out, and he roars. He looks like someone's fursona gone wrong. Then she shoots, and he runs off. Now we see a couple of friends playing video games, and the mom asks them to bring the dog inside. They look out the window, and they get a flash of the creature. They tell her what they saw, and she gets a gun, and she is ready to shoot. She asks her kid to move the drapes. She tells him to move and call the police. He moves, but so does the Beast. And then she shoots. Now we're at the station. A group of people are inside and they're reporting that their livestock has been killed. But the family we just saw is also in there. Phil asks them about what happened and they said that they saw a monster. And the young cop is immediately like, it was the Beast of Bray Road. So then he explains the legends to the new sheriff. Basically, in the 1800s, a beast wrecked a whole town of people living in the woods. A news writer walks in and is like, yep, that's true. I've gotten calls about this and it's my lead story and it's gonna be huge. Phil ain't fucking around though. He's gonna go investigate the family's house. The young cop and Pam are peeved that this monster is gonna kill their local revenue, which is hunting licenses. But don't worry, they've got a plan. Sell werewolf hunting licenses. Pam tells the news writer to run that shit and tell people that there's a werewolf loose. Now we're at the Van Beek's house with Phil. She's going over the story while he collects a fur sample. We see that the monster left a pretty big hole in the wall, so we move on to the great outdoors with a discount Coyote Peterson. Phil walks up and he meets a cryptozoologist Quinn, who is convinced that they have a cryptid in town. Phil is suspicious and he's like, who even are you? Where did you come from, bro? Well, Phil, he came from Minneapolis, okay? He was drawn to the town due to the articles about the werewolf, but Phil is like, this is police business, move along, cause you're trespassing, bro. Now we're at Phil's place and he's stepping outside to enjoy a beer, but he's interrupted by a drunk local girl who definitely wants to smash. But Phil ain't playing that game, and he tells her to go home. Rejected, she walks back to her car. She enters the back seat and asks the driver to bring her to an address. But wait, she is the driver. Now the Beast has crawled from the back of the car onto the roof. She hears the suspicious sound and decides to crawl out of her car. She didn't get very far though. The Beast grabs her and starts munching on her head. Now we're over to the station. Phil sees Quinn and is unsure why he's there. Quinn gets cheeky and mentions that the other officers find him useful. Pam pulls Phil aside and tells him that Quinn is there to make the werewolf tourism trap feel more legit, so that the town can get more money. Quinn and Phil start naming possibilities, but I have my own theory. It could be a fursona gone rogue. The two have a long-winded debate about the topic. We get a switch to a few people hiking in the woods. Not sure why they were there, but they found something gruesome. A call gets made to the station, and we are informed that Gretchen has been located, but only her head. Pam, Phil, and Quinn go to the scene. Phil and Quinn have yet another debate about the creature. Pam asks where the rest of her could be, and Quinn drops a whole bunch of info, but basically he's saying that they should be looking for bones instead of a body. Pam is going back to the station, but Phil and Quinn get to scout for more bones. Not before Pam gives Phil a revolver with silver bullets. The two are walking through the woods. Quinn makes note of the lack of wildlife and says that it could be due to the animals sensing danger. Phil spots a bone on the ground, and it's human. Quinn notes the teeth mark in the bones and mentions it resembles canine incisors, but the muzzle itself is more human. But hey, now we're at the bar. The Lubis brothers are inside and looking angsty. Phil and Quinn are at the bar talking to Kelly. The two talk about what the beast could possibly be, but the Lubis brothers are ready to start shit. One of the brothers comes up and asks for drinks, and starts shit-talking Phil. Kelly threatens to cut him and his brothers off, and Quinn seems excited to witness his first bar brawl. Shit-talking continues, then up walks another brother, who also proceeds to start shit. But honestly, they're both shit stirrers, so a fight ensues. Kelly ends the fight and kicks the brothers out. Now we see a funeral service for Gretchen. Phil and Quinn talk to the priest, and they have a conversation about the beast. Shelly talks to Phil and says he better find the thing that did this to her sister, and that the creature is real. Phil says that he wished Jack could make it, and Shelly says he's out of town. which we know is a lie. Back to the station. A fax came in for Phil, and it's the result from the hair sample. Quinn says the sample is jumbled. It's an odd mix of wolf and human DNA, and Quinn pops a cryptid boner. Behold that thought. We see a couple sitting in a car. Emo guy wants to get a picture of the werewolf, and his girlfriend is creeped out, but not creeped out enough to get him to take some titty pics. But spicy time is interrupted by something outside, so he goes to investigate, and he leaves her in the car. She starts calling for Brad, and his body gets slapped against the windshield. Now she leaves, and she's running through the woods. She stops in her tracks when she hears a sound behind her. She looks, and it's the Beast having a snack. He growls at her and chases her down. Then, her leg becomes a snack, and she's down for the count. Now we're at the cemetery with Shelly and her friend. We learn that Shelly buried Jack herself in the cemetery, because no one would have believed that the creature did it. She goes to Gretchen's grave and says that she's going to miss her. Back to the station. Phil questions why there's a whole ass bear in the station, and apparently it's a Canadian bear that shouldn't be there. So clearly, that's the source of the problem. Pam is ready to call the werewolf shenanigans quits because they need money. Quinn isn't completely sold, but everyone agrees it's the likely scenario and moves on. Now we're at the bar. The squad minus Phil are there, and Pam is getting her flirt on with Quinn. But now we're at the Lubis shack. They're trying to get their bone on with some girls. The masculinity is fragile in here, as the boys bicker about which chick they get. The boys separate with their lady of choice. One stays inside and the other goes outside, but it doesn't take long for things to go wrong. The brother outside starts screaming. It's clear from the growling outside that the beast is attacking the brother and his girl. The indoor one is trying to unlock a container. His girl is trying to call the cops. He ends up grabbing an axe and they back up against a wall in the garage as things go silent. The beast then grabs him through the wall, and I think it's safe to say that him and his lady are gone. Back to the bar. Kelly is closing and Phil walks in. They have a conversation and they're just being flirty and chilling, having some drinks. Quinn and Pam are boinking and there's a call. Dennis, the young cop, isn't responding to his radio. Phil and Kelly are getting zesty as well and are cock-blocked by a work call. It's Pam, and she needs him right now. The three are at the Lubis brothers' place, and it was clearly attacked by the beast. Third brother Billy comes running in, and he's distraught about his brothers, which is understandable. The group agree that they need some serious firepower to take the beast down. Pam gets radio that the beast is nearby. Now they group up so they can watch a video taken of the beast. Looks like he's having a snack, and my god, I just can't take that thing seriously. Billy is aiding them in the hunt, so they get a share of his weapon stash. He states that they can have these guns, but as long as he can go with them, and it doesn't take much convincing. And now there is a long-winded scene of them preparing for the fight, as well as making silver bullets from scratch. Quinn makes a concoction of wolf's bane and nightshade, which, if injected, should revert the beast back to human form. Now we're at the bar. Phil is visiting Kelly as a this could be our last goodbye kind of thing before facing off against the beast. Now we're with the werewolf squad. They're arming up and figuring out a plan. They decide to stick together, and that's it, that's the plan. They're scouting the area as a group. Quinn spots a dog and runs right up to it. Surprise, surprise, it's the beast, and he's attacking Quinn. They scare the beast off, but Quinn ain't looking so good. Billy starts walking away. Phil wants to help Quinn, but Quinn is like, "It's okay, bro, just come back," and hands Phil the werewolf fixer. Billy, however, is ready to snipe this fucking thing. Nice try though, he's right next to you. Phil saves Billy by firing at the beast, and it scares him off. Billy is looking pretty rough, and Phil radios Pam. He says that the beast is heading towards Kelly's, so that's where we're off to next. Phil enters Kelly's, and he informs her that the wolf is headed this way. Pam is on her way over as well. He shot that fucker in the leg, and goddamn, it's still trekking. But Kelly's vibe is kinda off, and she's got blood running down her leg. The realization sets in, and Kelly tells us that she got turned into a werewolf and she just never moved on from the city. She had it under control, but clearly not recently. Now she's transforming. They start fighting inside the bar, and Phil gets the chance to get the werewolf fixer inside her, and it seems to be working. Phil runs outside to meet Pam, but Kelly is also outside, and now there's mind games. Kelly is saying he's the werewolf. Phil is saying, no, she's the werewolf, and Pam has to shoot one of them. So obviously Pam shotgun blasts Phil, and he is down. Kelly takes the opportunity to obliterate Pam and starts snacking, but Phil ain't done. He gets up and points his silver bullet revolver that Pam gave him at Kelly, but uh-oh, it's empty. So Kelly starts beating on Phil, and he's down again. So she's back to snacking, but two farmers drop in. One gets murked immediately, and Billy seems to have hitched a ride and checks in on Phil, who makes a comment about how he's already healing. The other farmer is dousing himself in what I'm assuming is gasoline, but your guess is as good as mine. Billy is already on it, and the beast has no time to react. He lit that bitch up, and the two watch it burn. But wait, there's more. It's still fighting, and it leaps onto Billy. Phil unlocks Pam's truck and shotguns the beast, seemingly the final blow it needed. The two double tap the absolute hell out of this thing, and now it's some unknown time later. Quinn is giving a case of Werewolf Fixer to Phil and Billy. The two are headed out of town for the upcoming full moon, and they drive off. And that's the movie. Let's get into my afterthoughts. Initial afterthoughts. I was bored. I was really bored. I felt like I would look at how much of this was left. And, it every time I look, I felt like I went through, like, half the movie. But only, like, 4 minutes went by. Maybe I just don't like werewolf movies. It kind of felt like it dragged on. I didn't really like any of the characters. I wasn't super invested. Yeah, I'll hand it off back to future self. Now, I would like to say that I wasn't bored through the full movie, but as it went on, it just felt like it dragged and it got hard to keep invested. It wasn't like the worst movie I've seen, but I don't think I would go out of my way to watch it again personally. In a technical sense, I don't think I got any predictions right. Like, some were close, but I was so specific that I feel like it'd be cheating at my own game to mark things off. So I'm gonna say that I got nothing right. As well as no one is really getting added into the Character Hall of Fame. I don't know. No one stood out. Quinn wasn't horrible all in all, but he isn't like a top tier favorite. And the writing in this movie was a bit questionable. Like, the slurs they dropped were so pointless. I mean, they're pointless in general, but like, someone literally wrote them into the movie and thought, yeah, this is great. And that's wild. I'll stop rambling though. If you stuck around, then thank you for watching. These are probably going to be bi-weekly, since if I do that, I can still have a life and my own time. I will drop my social media down below. However, I am not very active on a lot of them. Like, comment, subscribe if you want. I can't tell you what to do. Stay safe and spooky, y'all.